Okay, I think we will get started, and if anyone joins us while we go, that's wonderful. We'll also be recording this presentation, so if anyone isn't able to attend live, hopefully they're listening to it virtually after the fact. So thanks for joining. I know a lot of us here on this call are excited about getting out mini grants to you, and we're excited that there's been a lot of interest in this program so far. So today during this hour, we'd like to spend the first 30 minutes getting you situated with what the Farm to School mini grant program is. And kind of the details of this grant program. We'll talk a little bit about why Farm to School, and then break out into a few examples, about 5 minutes each, to cover examples of Farm to School programs in Brandon Valley, Dakota Valley, and at Youth and Family Services in Rapid City. So we'll round out the day with just talking about or taking your questions and providing answers for the last 30 minutes. So hopefully we can provide you the information that you're looking for in this time. Okay, to get us going, we're going to go over to Brian Pontius and explain the grant application.
Yep. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brian Pontius. I am the policy advisor for the Department of Ag and Natural Resources. So we are so happy you're here. We look forward to sharing some more information about the grant with you. And if you want to just click on that flyer there. So this is our website page. So on this page, we have the flyer. You'll see we have an FAQ section shortly, and then we have our online application, which is the only way to apply for the grant. So just talking about eligibility, you need to be, of course, a school located in South Dakota. You need to be a part of the USDA National School Lunch Program. That is a requirement from the USDA. So that's important. All school districts are welcome to apply. You need to be, rather, there's only one application per school district. So you need to make sure you have your school district permission to apply for the grant. If you and another school are interested in applying, you could split that $5,000 as you see fit. But there can't be more than one application per school district. Part of the requirements for the grant program is committing to hosting a homegrown lunch day. And you may ask yourself, what is a homegrown lunch day? And it is actually quite simple. And I'm going to cheat here and read off our application. So if you go to and apply in our application, you'll see it there too. And basically a homegrown lunch day is just, it's incorporating one or more local foods into the students' lunches, into the students' lunch, and then educating the students about where the local food or foods comes from and how they're produced. So it's very simple. It's really more so, just you putting the effort in, but it's very doable. The mission of the grant is increasing access to local foods. So in your application, you want to make sure you're kind of drawing a line on how, by using these funds, you're going to increase access to local foods. So the grant in total is $80,000, which is not a lot of money. We already have 18 applications, so we're already at the point where there's more applications than money. But nonetheless, that doesn't mean you shouldn't apply. You still should, and we're going to review them and pick the best applicants. Each district can apply up to $5,000. There's no match. There's no other funding source necessary. And it is important to note this is a reimbursement grant. So we will not give you the money up front. You have to buy the products first, and then we will reimburse you afterwards. As far as what you can use the money for, lots of options here, just giving you a few. Non-stationary greenhouses. In our FAQ section, we kind of explain that a little bit more, but basically it means a greenhouse that's movable, that you can move around, and it's not cemented into the ground. The big one for this grant is cafeteria equipment. And the reason for that is we want schools to be equipped with the right equipment so that they can process local foods and they can buy more local foods. So that's a big one. You can also buy supplies for outdoor and indoor gardens, seeds, plants, livestock supplies. Those are all acceptable. You can use the grant to buy some local foods, but that can only be up to 10% of the grant awarded. So you get $1,000, it's 10% of that $1,000. And then just going over the application process, our deadline's May 1st. The application is available on our website, which we will show you again in a second. We are hoping to announce awards August 1st. In fact, we're hoping to do it a little bit before that, but we'd prefer to under promise and over deliver. And again, it's a reimbursement grant. So we will reimburse you after you spend the entire amount of your award. And then if we want to go back here to the website, so again, this is the website. There's a flyer, and then there's an FAQ section that we can just click on real quick. I'm not going to go through each of these, but these are a few that came up. Yeah, again, getting into the greenhouse there, we kind of explained the specific guidelines from the USDA to make sure you're able to do it, and a few other questions. So it's a helpful document, and I recommend checking that out. And then Anna, if you want to go right back to the website page. Yep, and then right there you'll see is our application. It says click here to apply, and then under that is my contact information. So,
sorry, I clicked the wrong one.
Yep, that's okay.
But here, would you like us to open it or just
No, I think that's okay. But if
okay.
you scroll down a little bit more, then my email, phone number is right there. So happy to help.
I'll also put, let's see, maybe it's already there. I'll put the link to this website in the chat for everyone to see. Okay. Anything else, Brian?
I think that should wrap it up for now.
Okay. We are going to move on. I'm going to skip this for a second and we're going to jump to Brandon Valley so that we've got someone who has to go pick up kiddos. So we'll let her go first and share her experience from Brandon Valley.
Hey guys, Laura Patzer here. My husband and I, we own Cherry Rock Farms over here in Brandon, and we bought this or took over this family farm about 7 years ago. And as it was mentioned, we do have little kids in the Brandon Valley School District. So it became super important for us to get involved in the community and just figure out how to, I guess, educate children as well as partner with them to get some just different vegetables into their cafeterias. So we kind of started to brainstorm, and working with Dakota Rural Action, as well, Stephanie, we just decided to kind of meet with the nutrition director and just see how we could start this program up. And honestly, that first year, it was super amazing. I also attended the National Farm to Cafeteria Conference, which gave me lots of great ideas. So in the spring, and it's happening this year too, we're going to do a mini planting session where what we have the kids do is we kind of just have them focus on all aspects of sustainability. So they'll save their cute little lunch cartons or milk cartons from lunch, and they will wash them out, save them in their classroom, and then we'll hop in and bring seeds and we'll grow little microgreens with them. So what we'll do is we'll go there first, we'll plant with them. They'll have to take care of them for about 10 days. And then we go back and we do a harvest day with them. So basically showing full cycle to all the kids. And the feedback the first year that we did this was insane. Like the teachers, the parents, the kids, they couldn't believe that, one, we were in the schools, two, that their kids were, getting their hands in the dirt, and they were actually like tasting the fruits of their labor. So the microgreens that we grew with that were snap peas. So it was really easy for kids to enjoy. I know my kids love sugar snap peas. So they taste exactly like it. So it's a really good, quick growing microgreen that we'll again be doing this year. We're planning to do that in May. So it's really cool. We're going to go school wide, hopefully, for sure, in a couple of the elementary schools that I've worked with. Then the second part that we did is we actually opened up, and we have about a 35-acre farm here where we grow produce and sell it out of a daily farmers market. What we wanted to do though was actually give the cafeterias, or partner with the cafeterias to provide some of those foods for the schools. So the first year what we did was we did cucumbers, and unfortunately we had some terrible weather that knocked us out of the rest of our plan. We actually flooded out and lost everything at our farm, which is farm life. But anyways, on the plans for this year are cucumbers, peppers. We're going to try some different kinds of melons. Really, the nutrition director at Brandon Valley, Andrea, is amazing, and she's so open to trying whatever we can. So we're also going to start something called a Food of the Month Club, and we're really going to focus on like more of a harvest of the month. So each month we're going to get together and figure out a different fruit fruit or vegetable that we can make available and have the kids sample it at lunch. So all of these aspects just kind of help us build a community, and it's really been encouraging to see the children enjoying vegetables and getting their hands dirty and really knowing exactly where their food's coming from. So that's kind of my spiel.
Thanks, Laura. I think we have Stephanie on here from the Brandon Valley, this partnership as well. Stephanie, do you want to introduce yourself and share anything about this program?
Hi there. This is Stephanie Peterson. I live right outside of Brandon, part of the school district with my kids, and I'm a local producer selling eggs to restaurants in Sioux Falls. I'm also working closely with Dakota Rural Action on some local food initiatives across the state, and on Farm to School as well. So I thoroughly enjoyed this whole process, working with Laura and the school district, and I think it was useful for our organization to actually have someone there on the ground working with a local producer, sitting in some of those meetings with the administration of the school, trying to help answer any questions that needed to be answered, and also learn a lot from watching the process unfold. So it was a great experience, and I'm looking forward to continuing working with Laura as we go into the future. Thank you.
Great, thanks for sharing those examples. And thanks to everyone for bearing with us as we navigate a little bit of a change there. So I'll go into some of the benefits of Farm to School and kind of set the stage up for why these examples are beneficial to hear too. So why Farm to School? There's kind of three categories that win. Kids win, schools win, and communities win. And there's all sorts of data and studies that support farm to school programs and how they're important and how they benefit our youth and our communities. So these things have been studied kind of nationwide, and all of them are a little bit different, but multiple different studies have found the biggest thing is that when farm to school programs happen, that kids eat more fruits and vegetables, and that impacts them positively with their health. So that is the number one best impact, I'd say, for farm to school programs. You also see that students who participate in farm to school programs have increased knowledge about gardening, agriculture, healthy food, local food, and seasonality, and are more willing to try new and healthy foods and are choosing healthier foods at school and at home. One neat program from garden-based learning, which would be a component of farm to school, is that students have reduced school failures and dropouts. I think they have something that they can own, and maybe even a peaceful place for school. Some benefits that schools have seen is an increase of an average of 9% in meal participation. Again, this is kind of a compilation of different studies, so it'd be interesting, and I can help if anyone's interested to go and see what the exact school demographic was that this has been found in, but I think it ranged anywhere from 2% all the way up to 13 or so. So the average was 9% participation, meal participation increase. We also see more school wellness policy adherence and improved staff morale from the food service side, and educators having a positive diet and lifestyle changes too. So it's just kind of like parenting, right? When you instill something for your kids, it kind of bleeds into that adults, that age group as well. And then, of course, a greater opportunity for hands-on, active, and experiential learning in the classroom or the cafeteria or the garden, wherever these activities take place. And lastly, that communities group producers. So our farmers are big partners for Farm to School. Many of you may be on here. Laura, being one of those producers, can potentially see an income increase of 5% when selling to schools. So it's a big market, and oftentimes one of the biggest meal providers in a community, second to maybe hospitals. So getting that market output availability for schools to producers can definitely increase income. One study has found that anywhere between 60 cents and $2.16 has been generated in economic activity from every dollar spent on farm to school. And we see things like decreased food waste that correlates back to when we're saying that increased fruits and vegetables are consumed, then less is going into the trash, right? And less air pollution from decreased transit distance between farm and table. And then increase food security. So when local producers can meet the needs of local consumers, then that food security in that local area can improve. So lots of great benefits. And in farm to school, I think those can kind of weigh into these different categories. So school gardens, education, and procurement are the three prongs of farm to school. And these grant projects could focus on any of those. All sorts of examples, and I think we're getting into that next. We've shared a bit from Brandon Valley about their procurement process or their education process. But as you can even see in that example, the most robust farm to school programs combine different aspects of these. So it's not they had maybe a little bit of procurement, maybe a little bit of supply there, as well as growing something with kids. So hands-on involvement in growing their own food could be considered a school garden aspect, as well. Of course, the thing we think of the most is an actual physical garden on the space of the school. And then anything that is educational that teaches kids about nutrition or agriculture. So farm to school is very broad, and not to focus on just fruits and vegetables, because we know in South Dakota beef and bison procurement is another big thing too. So with that, I think I'll move past our Brandon Valley example and go to Dakota Valley, another valley of South Dakota, and have Susan share a bit of her experience for procuring local foods for the school district in Dakota Valley.
My name is Susan Hudson, and I, for the last 10 years, have worked on farm to school or farm to table. We've done things like the harvest of the month. I've done Fresh Fridays. Dakota Valley is a place in extreme southeast South Dakota where we're 3 states combined, and where I do have good access to local farmers markets and a couple of longtime family producers. The kitchen and tool and equipment idea is up here because I believe you have to start with taking kind of an inventory of what you have. I found, for instance, one year looking at this, I have the ability to do salad here in the next little while. Do I need a salad spinner, or do I have a producer that is going to provide it to me well cleaned and available that way? I think that it's good to look at whether or not there's another item there, a veggie wedge cutter. I often find that people may have broken equipment. But maybe I need a specific blade because I'm going to do, as I've done before, only local tomatoes on our fruit and veggie bar until October, or as long as I could sustain it. But maybe I need a specialized blade so that my staff doesn't, well, look at me like I'm insane. I think it's an important idea to do kind of an inventory. So to get that started, it's a combination of equipment. And we've got a good list here from salad spinners, the blades, the immersion blender. I've always wanted one. Do you have the right pots and pans? Do you have knives and whisks? Do you have a food processor, a dehydrator? There are a lot of local foods for which maybe there's something that we could be doing different. I've always wanted to do fruit leather, and I do a big apple theme in the month of October. Maybe I should be considering that. I think I also included, maybe we need a salad bar. Do you need more trays? All of those I think are excellent ideas. Just starting where you are. Who do you have available? Do you have the SOPs, the HACCP part of it? As a food service director, beyond the kinds of equipment and the items that I'm going to need, I'm going to need to know, do I have local growers? And I think Dakota Rural Action is a great place. They put out a question, or they have a booklet. I also use a questionnaire to evaluate the growing practices and risks that I'm taking. I collect the information for what I need to do to pay my vendors. All of those are considerations. And going to the next slide, some of my vendors I may pay on the spot. Others, I can submit the invoices and they're part of a regular check process. So I've listed here the HACCP plan. And that's kind of where we relate back to the equipment in the sense, do I need pans to go pick something up from my vendor? If so, they may not have the boxes and things in places that I get from the regular grocery store. I'm considering transport, storage, and cleaning. Do I need to put something in a special place in my cooler? Do I have room for it? I use the example of watermelon. Every time we do a big watermelon day, I don't think I have enough deep pans. I never think my knives are sharp enough. And while I do it, and I may do it once a week for the entire fall season, have I really considered what I need? Do I have enough staff? When am I going to do it? I don't want to be overwhelmed, but have I planned accordingly? And that brought me back to the idea of when do you get started? You look at it now. The other reason I'm looking at it now is my local growers. I think, like Laura mentioned, she's already making plans for next year. I hope that the drought doesn't continue, but I'm looking at all the things I can do. I still have hopes to do it yet this year. And some things are better done with, we've done sampling, we've done entrees. Not everything's going to be your fruit and veggie bar. The Apple Crunch, which I look forward to this fall, will be our 4th year. And so we will celebrate things in a whole variety of ways. Going on to my next slide. I'm establishing who my growers are. I'm checking my SOP. I'm getting my educational planning things in check. Since I frequently use the same vendors, I have Know My Farmer sheets for each of them. I have back sheets about specific items. I had the text of when I do Cortland red apples, but we've done about half a dozen different apples in the month. Each time it identifies who's grown them, probably some education about where or what's special about it. But I've really tried to start wherever I was at in each of my kitchens, and I've been in different locations besides just Dakota Valley. Who's available, who wants to do it, who's providing information, and what my equipment is. And whether you submit a grant or you just start doing local foods, I think that it's never too late to start. Dried herbs are an option, honey's an option, all sorts of things that are maybe in a sense seasonal, but you should always start where you can. And yep, there's my fact sheet. I was waiting for that one. I had a great one of video. We've incorporated in our example using the Cortland apples. I think this was part of something I may have done with my high school students, but I also did something with preschool, incorporating a wide range of people and not counterintuitively, but when I did it with high school students, I would reinforce what Anna said. I've reduced waste and it was a great experience. My last slide was of when I went apple tasting with one of my friends. I gave some suggestions on how to start small. And I think I had to eat 8 different varieties of apples that day and taste the crop of the year. It was fun, but there can be too many apples. So on that happy note, I would turn it over to somebody else. I'm always happy to share and tell you more about what we've been doing for about 10 years. But I've got usually a whole variety of educational information. I may have collected information over the summer, but I'm always looking to see what I need to make us successful in promoting local foods and how I can make it better for the kids here.
Thank you, Susan. And our third example is going to come from Gabby.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? All right, cool. I'm Gabby DeMars. I am the Garden Education Specialist and Farm to School Project Manager at Youth and Family Services here in Rapid City, South Dakota, Oceti-Sakowin territory. I started garden education here back in March of 2021. It was a part of their strategic planning several years ago, and while they've sort of kind of sprinkled in some garden education, they haven't had any full-time positions just because of funding. And then in July of this past year, so I was doing part-time March until July, and then in July they got the Farm to School Edible Gardens Grant, which is one of the first kind of smaller tiers of grants that you can get to do different farm to school projects. And so I got hired on full time as the farm to school project manager. And so now we're doing a lot of focus on garden education, which is going to be year round, has been year round since March of last year. And we have 8 garden beds here on site. We also are currently collaborating with a school just a block away from us, which could be an option for you if you're a school district. As well as we just applied for the implementation grant, which would allow us to do more of the local procurement, sort of what Susan was talking more about. So while I don't have 10 years of experience, I have been heavily involved over the last year. So this is just some photos I wanted to share because I love these photos. The photos of my kids are some of the coolest things to see. So here in the last picture, they were doing a hydroponic lettuce harvest in the classroom. Here they did a hydroponic basil. They were packaging it to take home to their families. Over here, they were doing a garden scavenger hunt just at one of our raised beds next to the building. You can keep going, Anna. This is at, I forgot to mention, so alongside our raised beds, we also are in a unique position where we had land donated to us. It was 3.4 acres. So we get to do some of our own production and procurement of our own produce. So this was one of our farm field trips from last year, and this was some of our harvest from that. And then here's just some little transplants. So what I'm going to share today is a garden education resource list that I created. It's pretty self-explanatory. So if you get the document at a later point, you can take a look at the more specifics. But one of the main things that I think will be really helpful as you move forward and you're looking to do more garden education with your youth. Like I said, I do this on a year-round basis. So I have to have very specific and intentional lessons that sort of build because I have students on weekly and monthly schedules. So I try to be intentional with the lessons so that they're, not just sporadically learning about things that don't build on the next thing. So a couple here. The first one is the school garden curriculum, a K through 8 guide written by Casey Christopher. I really like this one. Not only does it fit with the school year, but it also integrates a lot of permaculture and things outside of just sort of farm to school stuff. It talks about leadership and sustainability concepts and things like that. That's one of my favorite. It's very straightforward too. Growing gardens, that's a really great one too. If you're doing more of like a short-term program, it's really straightforward. You don't have to have a lot of gardening experience to be able to implement that one. And then Kids Gardening and the Whole Kids Foundation websites are really nice if you're planning on doing more of the sporadic type. I don't want to use the word sporadic to be negative, but more of just like, you're doing it on a monthly basis or even less frequently than that. You can pull lots of different lessons from there that can be very specific to whatever you're trying to teach. Nutrition and culinary focused, I have a couple on there. If you're early child care, learning, that one, I just recently came across these 2 curriculum books and I started using them. I actually teach infant toddlers all the way up to high school. So I have to have a pretty wide range of lessons for those age groups. So those are 2 that I have found to work with those really young kids. And I also included a reading list, which you can find those anywhere. Mine are just ones that I've read with students and they worked. I really try and put emphasis on multiculturalism. Obviously the demographic of students that you have is going to make somewhat of a difference on how much multiculturalism you implement, but we have over 50% BIPOC youth in our program, and I want to make sure that everybody is represented. So that's just a great list if you need somewhere to start. And then getting more into the recommended classroom materials. This was kind of what Brian was talking about when he said you can do indoor gardening, outdoor gardening. These could be some of your options for what you could do in your classroom to be talking more about gardening and bringing home some of those concepts for them in a hands-on way. So we have a vermicomposting unit in our greenhouse classroom. I added some pros and cons on here. Look at that at your leisure. I think it's really great. The kids really enjoy it. Every time they come to class, regardless of the topic, they're like, can we see the worms? So this is a fun one, and you can use the worm castings in your garden beds. Mini greenhouses are really nice. They're fairly cheap. They're compact. You can do your seed starting in them. They'll reinforce those concept of greenhouse effects for you, and you can use them as storage. If you're in the classroom, you can put everything in there during the off season. You may need to look into more infrastructure options for grow lights, hooks, things like that. And then hydroponic and aquaponic units, I highly recommend these, especially if you don't have the ability to do outdoor gardening with your youth. I actually, I do the year-round classes with them, and so I rely heavily on our hydroponics and aquaponics to take home gardening concepts. And also we supply 25 to 30 pounds of lettuce every time we take a harvest off of ours to our cafeteria. So we're still doing farm to school and that procurement just right from our own room. So those are all good options, but of course there's initial costs on that. And then finally, I just added this little list here of gardening tools. Most of these are pretty self-explanatory, but depending on what age group you have, some of these things are going to make a larger difference than others, such as if you're working with infant toddlers, spill-proof watering cans are going to be essential versus, high school students, you can use something else. You could use recycled materials for that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's basically what I wanted to cover. Like I said, we do school gardening and garden education, but we're also working right now to get more local procurement as a part of our farm to school project as well.
Thanks, Gabby and Susan and Laura and Stephanie and everyone who shared those examples. I hope that serves as some inspiration to anyone who's thinking about starting farm to school, and some ideas from those who are kind of vets in the field. And we will be able to share these PDFs that we've shown here in a follow-up email, as well as all of these slides. So all of this contact information and all of the information shared will be available to you after the fact, as well as the recording for anyone who would like to watch that. So I think now we'll just go into more of a Q&A and introduce the rest of our panel that hasn't spoken yet. I can share a little bit more about myself. My name is Anna Barr. I work for SDSU Extension as the Farm to School Nutrition Field Specialist, and I can help with technical assistance and getting farm to school programs started, can make connections, get some examples going around other farm to school people that are maybe in your area to connect with, different things like that. So that's one thing that I can do, as well as Gabby had mentioned that they run a grant program from USDA Farm to School, that national grant. And so I that's another thing that I'll do for this stage, is kind of help to spread the word about those things when it comes, and any other grants that may be out there. So that's one thing that I can help you with outside of this as well. But let's see, I think if we want to have Cinda introduce herself next.
Yeah, hi everyone. I am Cinda Fry with the South Dakota Department of Education in the Child and Adult Nutrition Program services. I am a program specialist, also head of Farm to School. Probably seen my face before or emails. I am here to answer all questions. Like Anna said, a lot of what we do kind of ties together in partnership with everyone here to assist with grants and basically just help you get started on this farm to school journey. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. You can call me, email me, whatever you need.
And Lily.
Hi, my name's Lily. I work with Dakota Rural Action. We're a grassroots organization, so where I come into this, I can help schools connect with producers. We do have our local foods directory, like Susan mentioned, and then I also work on the more networking component of farm to school. So as we move from just individual projects and like as the troubleshooting component of the ways those are prevented, I kind of have been working with Anna and Cinda and Brian to address some of those issues via applying for grants or that sort of thing. So if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to reach out. Thanks.
Sorry, with that, I will just open up. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them now, and anyone on our panel can answer. Any questions yet, or anything that anyone on the panel would like to bring up while folks are thinking about any questions they might have?
Real quick, Anna, I was just going to mention, I brought up just briefly that we are collaborating with a school that's just within walking distance of us. If you are at a school or in a school district, just know that that's an option for you too. There's some of us out there, whether it be an organization or, you know, like Boys and Girls Club or just anything like that. They may already have some sort of garden farming type project that they're working on. And so the school is going to benefit from us already having a full-time person being able to manage the gardens and being able to take kids there on a regular basis, even during the summertime. So just like check your area and communicate with people and see if there's somebody else who's already doing some of this work that they could actually help be that, you know, consistent person on your project.
Not seeing any questions. Any thoughts from anyone else on the panel as we move along? Okay, I think I might share also with the follow-up email. We've got a farm to school resource guide that was put together. It predated, I think, all of us here from our organizations, but it was made by SDSU Extension, by Dakota Rural Action, and by the Department of Education as kind of a starting point for how to think about farm to school programs. So I'll share that resource as well, which is online and available. So that might be something insightful for you all. Okay, I see a question from Yankton Farmers Market. We have farmers from several locations. How do we pass this info on to them? Great. I mean, I think the biggest thing, if we'll share all this information out to you as a registered attendee of this webinar, and if you want to just forward it to them, go right ahead. Otherwise, if you want to reach out directly, I'm happy to follow up with anything in another way as well. So that's what I would recommend. Great. Okay, I'm not seeing anything else. So I think with that, we'll go ahead and close. But thank you for everyone for joining and for your interest, and be sure to follow up if you have anything. Oh, I see one more thing. And okay, just thank you. Just had to make sure. All right. Okay. Thank you, everybody.